So we got Asher Intrater, the president of Tikkun Global Family, also leader of Revive Israel. My name is Ron Cantor. I'm the CEO of Tikkun International. I serve with Asher. We've served together since, I think I met you in 1985 and then moved to Maryland in 1987, where I lived with your family, and we have been together pretty much ever since. So Asher, I'm in Tel Aviv. You're near Jerusalem. What is it like there? Everyone now, since last week, we've been on lockdown. I call it lockdown light because we can go out a little bit. What's it been like for you guys?
Well, for here, it's pretty much the same for people everywhere. I actually live right down the street from our studio here at the Messianic Moshav. So for us, it's pretty easy. Our lockdown is pretty simple.
Well, somebody said the other day on the news that, you know, what Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the PLO has tried to do for 70 years, well, since the 60s, to shut down our airport, coronavirus did in a matter of days. What the terrorists, you know, in the midst of war and terrorism, there is a bravado that the Israeli people have. You know, the young men who go into the army, they fight to get into the elite units, whereas in some countries they would fight not to be in the most dangerous unit. It's just part of our psyche, our MO here in Israel. But this is different. It's an unseen enemy, and they're scared. They're nervous. And I got to be honest with you. I'll talk more about this later. But I was in tears for a good part of yesterday as I'm realizing that the economic hardship that people are going to go through. My one daughter, Yael, here, she lost her job immediately as a waitress. My other daughter is on leave. She's a manager of a restaurant, but they don't need her right now. They're doing takeout, but she was in charge of the dining area. No more diners. And I'm concerned for people worldwide. My heart is just, you know, not just for Israelis, but all over the world this is happening.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing this, the Lord touching our people, and we're happy about it. It's funny. It's caused really changes not only to the Israeli people in general, it's caused changes within the community of faith here in Israel and in the government of Israel. I was thinking about this little rule from Scripture today that humility leads to unity. People don't want to be unified when they have pride because they think they're better than someone else. And when you're humbled and you realize you can't do it alone, then you're more willing to be unified. And we see that happening. You and I have seen that happening here in the body of Messiah, that people that weren't willing to talk to one another just a few weeks ago now are willing to talk to one another. And in the government, what seemed like impossible to get toward a unity government is maybe not, but at least they're talking about it more than they ever have.
Well, let's talk about that, because you and I both believe that the best case scenario for the Israeli government, and let me just give folks a little bit of background. I'll finish my sentence, that the best case scenario is a unity government between what we call Likud, Benjamin Netanyahu's party, and the blue and white Benny Gantz parties, and there'll be some other smaller parties in there as well if they're able to achieve that. We have not had a stable government now for a year. We've had 3 elections about 6 months or so apart because of the fact that nobody can form a government. Now we have what I believe is a really messed up form of government. Instead of electing a prime minister, we vote for parties. It could be anywhere from 10 to 20 different parties. Right now, we have a very small number of parties in the government. Sometimes we've had as many as 15. I think now it's like 8 or 9. And so you might be the leader of the party who gets the most votes, but you now got to go find people that you really hate, that you've spent now months saying what a horrible person they are in the campaign. It would be like Donald Trump winning the election and then having to make up his cabinet with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. That's what it's like here. You win, but you don't win. You get maybe 35% of the vote instead of 50. And then you start working and looking for coalition partners, but they're people that you don't get along with, and often that you don't believe the same thing. So that's our situation. And you know what? We've somehow been able to make it work for, I don't know how long, but now it's not working. 3 elections in a row, no government.
As you just said, a big victory here would be for somebody to get 35% of the vote would be amazing. And now it's
right.
also because the different groups here, their political parties are involved. It's a mixture of religion and politics, so people cannot compromise. I mean, you can't have an ultra-Orthodox religious Jew making a deal with a jihadist Muslim who can't make a deal with a Tel Aviv homosexual liberal, which can't make. I mean, so you have, not only do you have 8 or 9 or 10 different parties, but you have ones that basically can't compromise. So that's the challenge of putting together the puzzle of this government. And many people believe that there has to be a reform in the whole election procedure, but how can you even get the right reform when you can't get the people to be in agreement in the first place? And what he said was really actually the same thing that Benny Gantz is saying, and really what everybody's been saying. And it's 3 simple points. We need a unity government of the 2 big parties. We have to have a rotation in the prime minister, and we have to have a 50-50 split between them of the cabinet members. And it was just like, well, that's what everybody wants. And at least he said it clearly. So I was kind of amazed. I said, I don't think a conversation like that could have happened. Well, it didn't happen because it could have happened in the last 2 elections and never did. And it was like, wow, this is the first time. And it seemed like this is really what everybody wants. So I was pleased by it.
Yeah, I think you're being a little bit naive. You know, I've lived here for 17 years. You've lived here a little bit longer than me. But I know that Benjamin Netanyahu, he's probably the greatest political tactician in modern politics. He's brilliant. And I don't know that he was as sincere as you're giving him credit for. I hope so. Now, at the end of the day, we do want the same thing, which is a unity government between the Likud and the blue and the white. But you see, what you're forgetting is that his one of his top deputies, Yuli Edelstein, he shut down the Knesset last Wednesday. You can't do that. He's the speaker of the Knesset, and he shut it down. He literally, unilaterally, one person. This is a democracy. You can't have one person who just shuts down the Knesset. They can't pass laws. They can't put committees together. And he would claim that he did that because he was concerned about the coronavirus but that's not why he did it. And everybody knows that's not why he did it, is he didn't want the blue and white to be able to vote on a few procedural issues, such as one of the things they wanted to vote on is, can a prime minister who's under indictment, who's going through a trial, can he be prime minister at the same time? Because then Benjamin Netanyahu would have to step down at least for a season. They also talked about the potential of forming a government without Likud. Now, I am not in favor of this. I think it would be not in the best interest. And I want to be clear, even though I am very skeptical of the sincerity of Bibi, that's okay. He's a politician. That's what they do. I would say the same thing about the other people. But I do not want anybody else right now leading this country other than Netanyahu. We are in a crisis. We're in a worldwide crisis. And Bibi is the only human being in power right now all over the world who has stood up to the most powerful world leaders, whether it was President Obama or the Ayatollah in Iran or Putin. He's made of steel, and we need him right now. But I think you're being a little bit, and I appreciate it. It's sweet. It's wonderful. But I think it was politics.